For those of you who know BeamNG Drive, you probably know it as the world's most realistic crash simulator. Soft body simulation, damage, glass, rubber, steel, and plastic, all reacting realistically to automobile crashes and other chaos that can be created within this sandbox game. But for those of you that don't know BeamNG Drive, you should know that it's been being updated continuously for years. This is the world's most free sandbox for vehicle exploration and destruction. You can do pretty much anything your imagination can come up with. So what is BeamNG Drive in 2024? It's been around for quite a while and they've been updating it all along. Is it still just the world's most realistic crash simulator? Well, I've been checking it out and it turns out that it is so much more. As someone who spends a lot of time sim racing and who has run sim racing leagues, I was very pleased to find that the sim racing is hardcore, intense, and full of chaos in BeamNG. Not only is it got that damage model where every little bump and nick and bruise and every time you stick a tire off the track you're taking the chance of a complete total destruction of your vehicle, but it's also got an extremely good handling model. The racing is really good. Now it's a little rude, or not rude, crude. It's a little bit crude. You can't really, I couldn't find any way where I could customize a field and put exactly the cars I wanted to be on the track in the race. So it randomly generates cars within similar classes to the one that you are currently in. So you get a mixture, as you can see I'm passing an SUV right now, you get a mixture of different types of vehicles from all different time periods, some really old, some really new, but the racing is phenomenal and the handling model is shockingly as good as just about any sim that I've ever encountered. It also turns out that it is one of the best off-road simulators on the market. Now there's a ton of different vehicles and with all different capabilities. Right now I'm showing off a super truck, which is one of the most unstoppable vehicles on the planet. But you see how it handles the terrain, how realistic the suspension is and everything. This game simulates so much more than just tire grip and suspension and things like that. The physics for the transfer of weight balances. You see how the truck cocked to the side because I was sliding as I came off that jump. The way weight transfers, the way suspension works, the way so many things work are more realistic than almost any game on the market. And it's incredible because when this game first came out, all anybody knew that it was for making crazy crashes and making destruction happen and just doing chaos basically. But the driving, the quality of the driving, both off-road and on-road, is really impressive. There are people putting out videos of the mods for rally showing that it's one of the best rally racers on the entire market for games right now. Another thing that it does extremely well and has a lot of content for is rock crawling. Off-roading, like severe off-roading. There's all different types of rock crawling capable vehicles. It simulates tire flex. You can actually see the tires flexing on the rocks. The suspension travel is more realistic than any game I've ever played or encountered. The way the arms for the suspension move, the way the gearing matters. If you're in high gear you might get stuck and then you can switch into low gear and be able to get out of a certain tight spot that you're in. Your tires will actually get pinned down between the rocks, just like they would in real life. Everything in the game is being simulated on a level that you don't typically see in video games. For example, a lot of times the tire model in a sim racing game, it only simulates the tire's contact with the track surface, because that's the only thing that matters. But with something like BeamNG Drive, the entire tire, all the way around the tire, is being simulated. You can see right here, my front tire is getting stuck between the rock. It's got a rock above it and below it, and it's causing it to not be able to turn over anymore because it's jammed between two rocks. So it's actually making friction with the top of the tire and the bottom of the tire, and it's stuck. And that's a level of simulation you just don't see in other games. You don't see that attention to detail in the suspension travel and the way weight transfers as you try to make your way over these rocks, and the way the vehicle contorts and moves and maneuvers. You see how it's hanging in the balance. The weight is actually swinging back and forth as you try to rock it, just like somebody would rock a vehicle as they're trying to rock climb in real life. You can do that in this game and use your momentum to get your tires down to the rock so that you can get traction. It's truly incredible. I haven't explored this as much as I want to, but the rock crawling that I have done so far, you see right here, I'm switching to low gear because I'm stuck in high gear. And being in low gear, it shortens up the acceleration power band and gives you more torque, so you're able to pull out of things that you can't get out of in high gear. Just the attention to detail is truly incredible. And so, of course, because this is BeamNG, I'm going to show a lot of crashes, but look at this crash right here. It's a 1960s car being hit by a truck, and because it's a 1960s car, it has an old unsafe gas tank. So you could see when I actually made contact with the car, you see the gas splash out of the car and then it catches fire. When you hit modern cars, they don't catch fire because they have the newer, more modern gas tanks. In this clip, I'm trying to show how whichever tire has the least amount of traction will be the tire that spins on a typical differential. Every vehicle's differential is different. Even within the trucks, there's like 40 different trucks, and every truck has a different engine almost, and they have different differentials, different transmissions. Some of them are automatic, some of them are stick shift, some of them are semi-automatic. But you can see like the inside tire spins just like it would in a real vehicle, instead of both tires spinning like you often see in video games. It actually matters what tire has the least amount of weight on it. If the vehicle is swinging to the right, the inside right tire will spin because the least amount of weight is there. That's the point of least resistance, so that's where the power is let off when you punch the gas. You see, as I'm punching the gas, the inside tire is spinning. And then as we turn left and we give it gas to rotate through the corner, the inside tire starts to spin and the back end comes around realistically, just like it would in real life. You see crash physics like this right here, where the actual cab of the vehicle comes loose from the chassis when being hit by a really heavy automobile. The chassis is bent, but it's mostly intact because the point where the vehicle was hit, but the car was heavily damaged. The Jeep is completely destroyed. And it's like two different vehicles from two different eras and a difference in damage because of that. Now, I know I already showed this, but I just wanted to show the detail of the suspension travel for this truck coming down from a high jump. Look at how the suspension comes down, the body flexes, all the body panels shake and rattle, the spare tires on the back of the truck rattle and bounce up and down within their brackets. Everything is being simulated at all times. It's not just a static model of a truck. Every part on the truck, from the drive shaft to the suspension to the tires to the engine, everything is being simulated at all times. One of the things that this allows for is just true chaos. Right here I'm going 130 miles an hour and I just clipped the truck corner to corner like could happen on a country highway. Now, you wouldn't be going 140 miles an hour, but if you were both doing 70, like people where I live often do, 70 miles an hour towards each other, it would be 140 mile per hour impact. And this is what a head-on collision just corner to corner would do. You see how the frame is broken, the fender is gone, the wheel is shattered. You look at the truck, it took even more damage. The chassis is crushed in. The front left corner is completely missing. The door is gone. The dashboard is pushed almost all the way to the seat. Just the level of detail is really awesome. But it's even more than that. It's even more than just damage physics and suspension physics. The placement of the engine matters. This car being rear engine feels and drives completely different than a car that's got a big V8 in the front end. This being a lightweight car with racing suspension, it's a race car, track car, so it feels like a go-kart. It's very, very tight to the road, very rigid, very little play. And it being rear engine, it feels really, really sturdy because it's rear engine and rear wheel drive, so it's planted really hard to the ground. And it's extremely fun to drive. So you see how over revving the gear a little bit there actually damaged the engine a little bit. So it has a pop-up that will tell you when you've damaged. You see how the engine is flashing? The engine is damaged because I didn't shift gears fast enough. But the handling for these vehicles, the different tires, you know, every vehicle has a different tire. Some have street tires, some have off-road tires, some have racing slicks and things like that, and they all feel completely different. They handle completely different. Braking feels different. The way they corner feels different. How loose they are in the rear end under throttle feels different. How easy it is to lock up the brakes is different. You know, every car in the game is realistic. So if the car has anti-lock brakes in real life, it'll have anti-lock brakes in the game. If it has traction control in real life, it'll have traction control in the game. Or you can turn it off and then the car becomes an uncontrollable beast because you just unleashed 700 horsepower in a vehicle that's rear-wheel drive. But there's just so much variation from one vehicle to the next. It's incredible. And almost every vehicle in the game has at least 15 to about 30 different versions. There's several different versions of every single car, all the way from like the slowest, most basic version all the way up to like a track or race car version of that said car. And the driving experience for every single one is completely different. And it's really, really, really high quality. It's amazing how it feels and how it handles. So here's just a quick look at what I mean by the amount of vehicles. This is the list of vehicles that are in the base game, and these are a bunch of random objects that you can spawn within the world, in these open worlds. And every vehicle has a ton of versions. Look at the truck. You click on the pickup truck, you have everything from like old beaters to four-door long beds, dualies, towing four-door dualies, extended cabs, SUVs, off-road, mud machines, ambulances, a little bit of everything. And you can create whatever scenario you want. You can spawn a police car and then spawn another car and tell the AI to run away from you, and the AI will flee, or you can tell the AI to chase you and you can flee. You can put them in a cop car and they will chase you and try to smash you. They're not always super bright. As you can see here, they raced off down a dead-end road and got themselves stuck, and we took advantage of that situation. There's so many different maps, and there's mod maps. I didn't do any mods on this game. I have no mods currently downloaded at all, but there are tons of mods that add maps, they add vehicles, they add scenarios, they add all different kinds of things. I barely had time to see half of what was here just for the game, just the base game. It really is just like the best driving sandbox in the world. It has amazing handling both on-road and off, amazing crash physics, so you're always at risk of disaster when you do something crazy. And it just, that feeling of like realism just comes out in everything they've done in this game. The way it feels to drive, the way it looks, the way it handles, everything just feels so realistic and so well simulated. Now, one of the things you run into when you create these scenarios where you're a police officer and you're chasing someone um, is the danger just of driving. In so many games, you can just floor it and go around corners with pedal to the metal and bounce off the wall. If you even touch the wall in this game, the damage can be catastrophic. You can break a drive shaft, you can crack your wheel, blow out your tire, damage your steering so bad that it starts pulling really hard. You see right here, I make a mistake, hit the guardrail, and now my steering is off. So I'm fighting just to keep the car on the road at all times. Not even able to catch up to this car because I'm so busy fighting with a broken car that took damage from what in any other game would just be a small bump that you would just drive away from, no problem. There really is a level of freedom that some people may struggle with in this game. There are missions, there are like campaigns that you can do, and some of them are just like crash scenarios and police chase scenarios. There are a lot of things from the developers that you can do, but the best things in the game are not curated. The best things in the game just take you taking the time, going into a map and exploring and finding off-road sections like this, spawning in a super truck and just having a blast sliding around corners and jumping over hills. And just it's like, I know some people struggle with sandbox games because they give you a little too much freedom and not enough guidance. But if you like simulating things, if you like exploring open worlds that are really detailed, you will really enjoy this game because there's so much to find and so many different vehicles to explore it with. So many things to experience in this game. It's really pretty amazing. Just look at the level of the simulation here. This is just an off-road Jeep, but this is this way in every vehicle in the game. You move the camera underneath and you can actually see the drivetrain, the exhaust, and the drive shaft moving. If you hit something and bend the drive shaft or damage the drive shaft, the vehicle won't drive like it's supposed to anymore. As someone who has been a sim racer for many, many years, I have spent a lot of time in BeamNG Drive just driving on. There are a few tracks. There's several maps that have like a racetrack on them. There's a couple of main tracks that are big and really well put together. And then there's some smaller road courses. But you have so many vehicles to try. They all drive different. Every single one of them feels unique. The handling feels unique. Some of them will have an automatic transmission. Some of them will have a manual transmission. You can actually choose a lot of times which one you want, or they'll have like an automatic transmission with a paddle shifter mode, like a sport mode you can switch into, so that even though it's an automatic, you can control the gear shifts. But you just see the quality of the driving model in this game, the way weight transfers. This is a very powerful car with a big V8 engine, and you see the way when you get on the throttle, the rear end rotates just like it would in a real car. Now there are systems keeping it from losing control. There's traction control and things like that. Now you can turn that off if you really want like a raw experience, if you want to feel what the car feels like with no assists. You can turn all those things off, and I do a lot of times because it's really fun drifting around corners and everything like that. But the cars, the way they dive into the corners, the way you have to use the gas to rotate the rear end of the car, the way you have to manage your brakes will actually overheat and start to fade in this game if you ride your brakes too hard. The way everything transfers weight wise, if you eat up the curbs too much and you run off the track, you can blow a tire just from putting a tire off the edge of the track. Like no other sim game that I've ever played had this much like different ways to die, basically, different ways to fall apart, different ways to fail, as this does. And the whole time you're racing, the whole time you're racing against AI, there is multiplayer in BeamNG. I did not explore the multiplayer at all. I don't have anybody readily available who has it that I could jump in with, but there is multiplayer, and then you can even run the same mods and do mod races. There's some really crazy tracks, like extreme death-defying jumps and things like that that you can do in multiplayer with your friends. Really, really cool. But if you're just a sim racer who loves like a track day, running some laps on a great racetrack in a really realistic feeling car, this can be like a track day dream. Like, it feels so good. You can feel the grip for every corner of the vehicle, which is unusual. You can feel each individual tire's grip within the feedback you get. Now the racing, like I said, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. You get good experiences, you also get bad experiences. Sometimes the AI is really careless, and like you see here, this guy just hit me. I'm trying to get around him. He's hitting his brakes because the guy in front of him is almost crashed. So now I have some body damage, and I'm stuck way back here, and the leaders are getting away. But even just racing in the middle of the pack, like the realism of it all is incredible. And the cars being from different decades, different classes, different manufacturers, different weight classes. Even you'll have like muscle cars that are racing in the same race as like a 4-cylinder front-wheel drive hatchback, and the hatchback will be much more nimble, but then the muscle car will have more straight line speed. And they just, like, over the course of a several lap race, it's really fun to see how all that balances out and see how everything is handled within the game. And the thing that's so great about it is at any given time, if you bump somebody, you can see like super realistic damage on their car, little dents and dings. And then of course there's crazy things you can do. I mean, BeamNG is the ultimate sandbox. You can do anything, no matter how ridiculous, no matter how crazy. You can do whatever comes into your mind, and then some. The destruction never gets old. I've had this game for years, and I would always fire it up and come back to it just to do destruction videos. And not videos, but just to do destruction and like just have a good time for like an hour or two, and then I would put it away, and I might not come back for a few months, and then you come back and you enjoy it again. But there's so much more to this game than just the destruction. The destruction is like the bonus content at this point. The sim racing, the off-road racing, the rock crawling, there's so much there. So much that you can enjoy. So much detail. You can even simulate other things. Like you can simulate truck driving. Some of the maps are really huge. And you can there are mods that add traffic and things like that. Like I said, I don't have any mods running on my game, but I decided to try big rig trucking in Utah on BeamNG, and it's just awesome. It's so awesome. You see I'm in the wrong gear here, so the truck is like struggling to take off. But the fact that they have the most realistic sports cars that I think I've ever driven on a road course, the most realistic rock crawling I've ever experienced in a video game, the most realistic off-road feel and traction and feel in dirt and everything else. And they also have the most realistic semi-truck physics and driving feel that I've ever felt, and like the way you shift gears and everything. I mean, I know there's like American Truck Simulator out there, but this is right there. Like it feels that good or better. Like it's just as good. And it's just another thing that they put in this incredible game. If you haven't tried BeamNG Drive, I definitely, or if you own it but you haven't had it installed in a long time, I definitely think you should take another look. Give it a try. See what you think. Really appreciate you guys watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. For all you console players out there, I'm really sorry, but this is a PC only game as of now, and has been since it came out. I don't know if they're ever going to release it on console. It would be a great day for console players if this game ever came to console, but I've never heard any rumors or anything about that. But for all you PC guys, give it a try, see what you think. Let me know in the comments if you already play it, what you think of it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks a lot.